Welcome back, everyone, to this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. I'm pretty excited today. I am not going to lie. I yesterday drove about an hour and 15 minutes to meet with a man that I have been introduced to about 4 times. Nothing came of the introductions. And I've been following him online for about 2.5 years now. And I've been trying to get FaceTime with him for probably, or at least a Zoom meeting, a video recording or a video meeting on the computer for about 2 years. And every introduction that was made just kind of, I wouldn't say he brushed it off, but essentially he brushed it off. So it was just kind of like nah. And then with us moving to Philly, he's about an hour and 15 minutes from us. And so I had a few people tag that I needed to know him. And then my coach actually, got booked to speak at his event. And I reached out to my coach and said, "Hey, people keep saying I need to meet this man. Will you introduce me?" And I drove all the way, I drove like an hour and 15 minutes to go meet him to have coffee. We ended up chatting for 3 hours, just under 3 hours. And what was really coming to my mind, I did a coaching session on the way, with one of my clients on the way back from meeting him yesterday. And the thing that really, really kept coming up for me was how to turn a no into a yes. And most individuals, when they receive a no, that's it, game over. It's not going to happen. And their mindset just completely goes to poo poo, and they don't take any other action. But maybe I'm crazy. It's highly possible. I mean, it's probably more than possible. It's probably reality. Maybe I'm crazy, but when I hear a no, I hear not now. I don't hear no. I hear not now. And so if somebody doesn't respond to an introduction, or, the message isn't read, or the virtual assistant or secretary, dismisses the email, which I had happen this week, it's not a no for me. I start to think about how I can influence people around that person so that those people are talking about me to that person, so that when I do get in front of that person, they have heard my name and I've left an impression on them. So, I have a member of the Purpose Chasers community who I've been commenting, back and forth with today. And yes, I do my own commenting in the group at the Purpose Chasers on Facebook. And he wants to meet, now I'm spacing on the man's name, some financial guru. I want to say Dan Henry, but I don't think it's Dan Henry. Maybe it is. Dan Henry. Maybe, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. He wants to meet some financial guru. He wants to meet Jim Rohn, but Jim Rohn's passed. So he wants to meet a financial guru. And I asked him, like, do you have a strategic plan to meet this man? And he said, yeah, I need to make more money, and then I need to scale my business. And then once I have more money and I have, a bigger business and then I'll have more influence. It's not my experience. My experience is that, yes, you need money to get in rooms or to get around people that are connected to that person, but you don't necessarily need money to bring value to an individual to get in their circle, to turn a no into a yes. That's just my experience. And most of you listen to this podcast have heard me talk about, how I got in Hal's space. And, I just took a step back. here's what I do. I'm going to give you the key to my business success and how I've gotten on some of the stages that I've gotten on. And then I'm going to share the results of this conversation that I had yesterday that I drove, almost a 3-hour round trip for. So I took a step back and I sat quietly. And, for those of you who know me, I love whiteboards. I have 2 of them in my office. One's glass, one's white. And I'm looking at them right now as I talk to you. And right now I have slogans and catchphrases that are going to be going on the Purpose Chasers merch store. So I take a step back and I ask myself, what's the heart of this person? Like, what is their baby? Like, what is, and with Hal, it was his mastermind community. It was one of his babies. And so, I joined his mastermind community and just brought absolutely as much value as I possibly could to his mastermind community. Just like as much as I could, to the point where when we finally met at his face-to-face mastermind session, when we finally met, he had heard about me by like just a gaggle of people, just a whole, I don't know if that's how you say people. What is it? A gaggle of geese? A whole herd of people from his mastermind had been talking about me. And so when we met, it was just like natural. It wasn't awkward for me. Or for him, it was just like, well, we need to meet because clearly, you're bringing a lot of value to something that I'm passionate about. And what can I do for you? So it's the how to win friends, influence people mindset, right? And so, but what I did was I write strategic plans for how to get in people's worlds. I just do. And, this is a result of me studying a lot of super influential people who have leveraged relationships to get connected to really, really high level people. And my experience is you have to find out what they're close to, what they're passionate about. And from a heart-centered place too, because if you get in my circle, or you get in Hal's circle, or you get in, I'm not going to name drop anymore, but you get in other people's circles and you're a fraud, some people are going to smell that. And the people that I'm trying to get connected to are going to smell it. So I sit back and I really, really think about like, what are the things he's most passionate about? And I write them on my board. And then I start to map out a plan of like, okay, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to bring value to this person. And I'm going to send this letter and I'm going to send this email and I'm going to make this introduction and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And before you know it, I have a strategic plan outlining how I'm going to show up in this person's world. They don't know I'm coming. They're grateful when I arrive, right? And that's not an egotistical thing, but they're grateful when I arrive because I've brought so much value to the things that they're passionate about and the people that they're close to that they can't deny that I've now arrived. So many people are so selfish, and don't be selfish. It's a joke. It is a joke. They're just so selfish, especially in business. I mean, my inbox, I get hit between 5 to 10 times a week sometimes with individuals that are trying to get on my podcast, especially in LinkedIn. I was talking about this yesterday with the man that I met. On LinkedIn, it's just troll after troll trying to get on the podcast because they want to promote their stuff. And they heard that podcasting is the way to promote their stuff and blah, 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 blah. And they don't give a shit about you, the listener, which is why I create this podcast and why I create the content that I share. They don't care about that. They just want to promote their shit. And you won't see them on here. Hopefully, if you do, please call me out on it. Message me, join the Facebook group and harass me. So anyways, I write a strategic plan and then I start to implement it and I just keep moving. And the more I implement the strategy of how to get into their world, the more doors open up, the more opportunities open up, the more people are presented. And before you know it, I'm there. This has worked for me 3 times now. And I'm just rinsing and repeating. I really try to keep a heart-centered attitude with how I approach relationships and when I do arrive at the greeting of these individuals, like I've brought them a lot of value. So there's not of like, well, who are you and what do you do? It's more of a like, man, I've heard a lot about you. Thank you for what you've been doing. That's how I want to show up in people's lives. If you show up in people's lives like that, you will get anything that you ever want, whatever that is. So I met this man yesterday. I drove to this coffee shop, really good coffee, by the way, not as good as Texas Coffee Traders, which you heard how you bean that episode, which is to date my favorite episode I've recorded. And I want to follow up with you. I did reach out to Beth, is the co-owner, and I'm waiting to get an email back. They're definitely willing to sell me coffee, but I'm waiting to hear back from her to see if I can get her on the Purpose Chaser. She's very busy. Her minion told me, her coffee bodyguard, or whatever you call it, did tell me she's busy. So I go and I drive and I'm meeting with this man, and we talked for 2 hours. We talked about my time in prison and his mom's struggle with addiction, and the whole time I was sitting there, I had no motive other than to get connected to this man and just find out what he's about and what he's up to. And the end result of this conversation was this man asked me to share my story of how I went from playing a victim to being a victim, and how I work to empower other people to stop playing the victim. Right. So he invited me to share my story on his podcast. Then he invited me to his event to speak on his stage and contribute to his community. And I was deeply, deeply moved by it. And it takes a lot to trip me up and make me stumble over words. And I was yesterday. I truly was. I was stumbling over my words. And I even said to him, dude, this is not why I drove here. And he looked me dead in the eyes and he said, I know it's not why you drove. Like, I know that this wasn't your motive, or I wouldn't be asking you these things. And so I really didn't have motives, is what I want to share with you. My only motive for this meeting was to find out what he was most passionate about, so I could bring value to that thing or those things and the people around him in such a way that the next time we met, he couldn't deny the fact that I cared about him and what he was doing. Because I kept hearing how heart-centered of an individual he was and how we were so aligned with what we talk about and what we do. And I just didn't expect it. And so I'm like, today was kind of a day of pause where I did some work in Google Drive, and, I just hired on an employee who's going to be helping me, distribute some of my content and, help me manage some of the stuff. So I was getting that organized, and I was just like listening to light music today and just really, really reflecting. And then I dropped a question in the Purpose Chasers community on Facebook at the Purpose Chasers. And my buddy Brandon commented that he wanted to meet, I think I forget the man's name. You know what? Let me look while I'm, because no one's going to know that I'm looking on Facebook while I'm recording this episode. But I want to actually see, because I want to bring it to life, Dan Sullivan, of Strategic Coach. I really want to breathe life to this. So bam. So we're going back and forth right now. I'm looking at the live comments. He wants to meet Dan Sullivan. And he said that's because we can't bring Jim Rohn back to life. And I asked him, Brandon, have you created a plan to get into his circle? And he said, I have not. That group is full of heavy hitters. So I need to add value, generate capital, and scale up. As far as the first step, adding value, I want to enhance on that any way possible. It's one of the reasons I make my presence here, to make it a lifestyle. So, and I said, I've done this 2 times now effectively, and been working on my third. Who outside him can you connect with? How can you bring them as much value? How can you bring them so much value that your name will get in Dan's ears before you meet him? You don't need money. This is something I'm sitting with now. Who is next for me? And he said, that is a great question. I would say, Joe Polish, the question is how to reach him and how I can add value. And he said, I'm not aware of anyone else in his direct circle. And I just want to highlight that. Brandon, shout out, dude. All the Purpose Chasers community members. But the people don't think about that. They don't stop to think, like, how do I get in this individual circle? How do I bring them massive value? How do I turn a no into a yes? So again, when I hear no, I hear not now. That's all I hear. I don't hear no. I don't hear doors slamming. I don't hear get out. I just hear not now. Not now. And all I hear is I need to bring more value. Because if you're hearing not now, or you're hearing no, or you're hearing, any doors slamming, whatever, you just haven't brought enough value for them to see a reciprocal relationship. They're not seeing the benefit of engaging in a relationship with you. So my ultimate goal always is to get them to see the benefits of engaging in a relationship with me. And I'm a high performer. Like, I operate at just freaking like stupid speeds. Like and I'm not showboating. Like, I'm all over the place and I'm doing a lot. And that's how I just want to show up in people's lives that way. I don't just want that to be my online presence. I want that to be how I show up and how I build relationships with other humans. So I hope you implement this strategy. And if you have somebody that that you want to be mentored by, that you want to get in their circle, that whatever it is, just take a step back, think about the things that are most important to them, reflect on, do some research on the people that are closest to that individual, and start to think about and start to meditate on how you can bring value to the things that they care about and influence the people that are in their circle, so that by the time you do meet that individual, you've brought them so much value that they already know your name. This is something that has worked for me. Like I said, multiple times now. I believe it is a cookie cutter process. It's not easy. It's really not easy. It's not, I would much rather do this than pay to get somebody's time any day of the week, because it's just going to be more meaningful. It's going to be way more meaningful when you do arrive there and you get the opportunity to build relationships with people that are maybe ahead of you. Like this man that I met with yesterday, I would say he's probably a level, maybe even a level and a half ahead of me in business, in podcasting, and he's hosting his own event. This will be his multiple year of hosting his event. I haven't hosted an event yet, other than the Shattering the Stigma, which I did twice, but I haven't hosted a Purpose Chasers event yet. I believe 2021 we will be hosting the first Purpose Chasers event. But just how do you turn a no into a yes? That is the topic that I wanted to share with you, as it is really, really on my heart as I just walked through this again. And I want you to know that any no can get turned into a yes if you view it as a not now and you pause to think about how you can turn it into a yes. So if you want to see more of my action, please go follow me at The Purpose Chaser on Instagram. That's also my handle on Facebook. If you call it a handle, I'm not even sure what you call it. I have a Twitter, but I don't use it. I have a LinkedIn, but I rarely use that. But I'm about to start I'm going to be posting on that as well. But am looking to grow my Instagram following. We'll be adding more content on Instagram at The Purpose Chaser. If you want to see my beautiful kid, Little Mark, aka Hammy, aka the Chosen One, posting quite a bit of him over there on Instagram. Also, feel free to join the Purpose Chasers community, get to know Brandon, get to hear how he creates his strategic plan of how he's going to get in this man's world, and show up big, guys. I will talk to you soon.